In 1986, Carmen and Al Snekeder moved to the small town of Southington, Connecticut, with the purpose of being closer to the hospital at which their oldest son was being treated for Hodgkin's lymphoma. Having fallen on hard financial times, the family jumped at the chance to rent what appeared to be the perfect house. It was large enough for their family, which included 3 children and a cousin, and the rent was in their affordable price range. It was while they were moving in that Al made a startling discovery. In the basement was a peculiar room that was complete with embalming tables and tools. The house, it turned out, used to be a funeral home. Moreover, the basement, which was sectioned into several rooms, was the only room deemed large enough to serve as the 2 boys' bedroom. Snekeder, a haunting in Connecticut. What really happened? Not long after, Carmen says she began experiencing strange phenomena, like items disappearing and her children reporting seeing strange people in the house, as well as hearing voices and the sounds of hundreds of birds taking flight. Her oldest, who was at the time in the middle of radiation treatment, began to exhibit radical personality shifts, becoming withdrawn and angry. He brooded and began writing poetry with necrophiliac themes. During one intense episode he attacked his cousin with the intent to rape her. His family had him arrested and taken for an evaluation, where he was pronounced schizophrenic. He was removed from the house and seemed to get better until returning. Other phenomena that were reported by the Snekeders included the repeated and brutal rape of both Carmen and her niece, as well as acts of sodomy being performed on her husband by unseen entities. Mop water was reported to turn blood red, and the scents of rotting flesh and decay were reported throughout the house. She was also frightened with apparitions that she saw, one with long black hair and black eyes, the other with white hair and eyes and wearing a pinstripe tuxedo. It was then that Carmen decided to contact controversial paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. Along with John Zaffis and a few investigators, the Warrens moved into the house for several weeks until they'd experienced everything the Snekeders claimed. During their time in the house, they claimed to have seen firsthand the damage the demons in the home could inflict, with many members being slapped and beaten, pushed, and slammed to the floor. Investigation into the history of the house supposedly revealed that one of the undertakers at the funeral home was found guilty of necrophilia, which fed fuel to the fire. It got to the point that the Warrens deemed it necessary for a full-scale exorcism of the property, after which the house was judged cleared by the Warrens. With the evil banished from the house, that should have been the end of the story. But it wasn't. Like another Warren investigation, the infamous Lutz house in Amityville, there have been numerous claims by people who lived in the house, both before and after the Snekeder family, that there have never been any evil entities in the house. In fact, the family's claim to have no knowledge that the home was once a funeral parlor was refuted by the house's owner. Perhaps the most damning evidence that the whole event was a hoax came from horror novelist Ray Garton, who was contracted to write the book In a Dark Place with the Warrens and the Snekeders. According to Garton, it was difficult to write the true story because none of the involved parties could keep their stories straight. It seemed everyone was contradicting everyone else. When he went to Ed Warren with the problem, Garton wrote in a post dated April 27, 1999, "He told me not to worry, that the family was crazy. I was shocked. He said, all the people who come to us are crazy. You think sane people would come to us?" He knew I'd written a lot of horror novels prior to that, so he told me to just make the story up using whatever details I could incorporate into the book, and make it scary.